Oh, hi, Breastie. That's a new word for you to learn today. It's what is used to describe people who become friends thanks to the boob world, whether it's through the Facebook group or meeting at the doctor or listening to a podcast. And because you listen to this boob-related podcast, you are now my Breastie. I'm Carla Marie, and welcome to episode 4 of my breast explant journey. I am explanting on May 23rd, 2024, after 10 and a half years of having silicone implants. My doctor, Dr. Rankin, will be on a later episode. If you have questions for him, email me, hello@carlamarieandanthony.com. He is one of the few plastic surgeons in America that recognizes breast implant illness and has stopped implanting. He only explants. So it's going to be a great episode. Can't wait to talk to him. Just a quick reminder, I do other things besides this podcast. So if you found me because of the boobs, that's great. But you should also know I host a daily podcast, the Morning Show podcast. It's under 25 minutes, always. Has everything you need to start your day. And depending when you're listening to this, it posts right in this feed. So it's not hard to find. Also host the Carla Marie and Anthony show. That is a live video stream on YouTube and Twitch. It's interactive. Come hang out with us. We'd love to meet you over there. Also, this is super important. I had a nurse reach out to me who I've talked to for a few years about implants. She had them herself, got sick, had them removed, and she wants me to tell everyone, report your issues or experiences with the FDA. This is one of the few ways they know about breast implant illness. It's due to self-reporting. So the link to do that will be in the description of this podcast. I'll put it also in that breast implant illness Google Drive that I've created. That's also that link in the description of this podcast. It has a ton of resources. Highly recommend checking it out. Okay, in episode 4, this episode, you get to meet 2 of my new breasties, Abbie Eastwood and Debbie Mack. The 2 of them host the Heal is Real podcast and discuss the systemic issues reported by women with breast implants. They have on incredible guests. It's an amazing podcast. Please listen to it after you listen to this one. They have a wealth of knowledge on the implant industry, and you get an extra treat today because they have the most beautiful British accents. So let's meet Debbie and Abbie.
This is Carla Marie's breast explant journey.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to meet you.
Hello,
Hi.
nice to meet you too.
I have been loving listening to your podcast, and
thank you.
It's just, it feels like I almost have like fairy godmothers going into this, listening to you guys and your journey prior. As I'm getting ready now, almost, as we're recording this, I'm 35 days out from my surgery. So I'm so
excited for you.
And I want to hear each of your stories, how you guys met, all of it. But I think it's important just for my audience to know just who you are as a person, aside from the breast implants and all of that. So Abbie, kind of give your quick life bio rundown of who you are.
So I was a TV presenter over 20 years ago. And I've also dabbled in a little bit of radio, and I'm really now a voice artist. But it was the TV career that made me need to feel that I had to have the boobs put in.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Debbie, what about you?
I'm a radio presenter like yourself. So, I've been on the radio since I was 17.
Wow.
I've worked all over the UK. I'm currently living in Canada, though, and still doing my English radio show from my basement here. Secret. No one really knows I'm here yet.
See, isn't that
I do.
They have no idea. That's crazy. We're doing this in 3 different time zones in 3 different countries. And
Yep.
Look at us. So impressive that we were able to do this.
I know.
But Abbie, you mentioned that TV is what kind of pushed you to need implants. So talk about that why you got implants, and what year was that?
Oh, now you're asking. Well, the implants went in actually on September the 11th, 2001.
Oh, no way.
Yes way. I woke up to the Twin Towers
Oh my God.
collapsing. So the whole thing was really surreal. Off my head on morphine and watching on a TV screen. Basically, the world changed forever. As my body changed forever. Yeah, the reason I got them put in the first place was I was working in TV. I was doing a fair amount of magazine shoots. I've been in Dubai. I don't know whether FHM is out in America, but it was out in the UK, and I'd gone out to do an FHM shoot, and I had chicken fillets in my bra and was completely paranoid and self-conscious the whole time that they were going to fall out and it was going to look really obvious in the photos. And actually now when I look back at them, I think they do look really obvious, although I think others have said that it doesn't, but I think you can pretty much tell that there's not real boobies in there.
Abbie, I think you should also explain what FHM is. It was like a lads mag, wasn't it? So
yeah, it's like Playboy kind of.
Yeah.
Not that far.
Softer than Playboy.
Okay, softer than Playboy. Well,
I mean, I think if it had been Playboy, I probably wouldn't have been allowed in there because there was nothing on the top half.
Well, I did look at the photos because you have mentioned this on your podcast, and I was like, let me go and zoom in. And I was like, if you didn't say anything, I don't think I would have noticed. But I really
I don't think you can.
Those photos, like, what? You're perfect to me. I'm right. Like, why would you ever change anything? To me, I'm looking at you, which is so easy for us to do to each other. You're perfect. Why would you change anything? But
so do you know in America what chicken fillets are?
Yeah. So for us, what do we call the chicken cutlets? Is what we call them.
Okay, so they're kind of the silicone inserts you put in your bra to give you a bit of an uplift. Well, I was using them as boobs because I had nothing to uplift at all. I was completely flat-chested. So once I came back from that shoot, I was slightly mortified by the experience that I'd had out there of feeling so self-conscious. And yeah, at that point, it was just like, let's book it in. Let's get this done. Let's get a pair of boobs. So that was 2011 and I had them in for 15 years.
Oh, wow. That was
not 2011, 2001.
2001.
I had them in for 15 years. Yeah.
Debbie, your story is different because you were
very different.
Yeah. You were older too when you made the decision, right? I mean, older than Abbie was when she made
a lot older. And when we were doing our podcast, that is one thing that I always felt a little bit embarrassed about, because a lot of the ladies that we spoke to said, I was young and naive and silly. And I was like, I was in my 40s. So yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, and I'd always said I'm never going to do that. I don't want to have foreign things inside my body. I'm not going to do this. But then I did. A friend of mine did it. And I think that just we went for a spa weekend and I had a feel of them, as you do. Mm-hmm. And I just thought I'm going to do it, and I'm quite impulsive, so I booked myself in. So I had mine put in January 2022, and they were in for 6 months.
Okay, which I want to get into that and talk about how quick, like compared to I'm 10 and a half years, Abbie's 15 years, and you're 6 months. That's crazy. So
I know.
Let's go back to Abbie. Your symptoms. You don't have to go into all of them, but just
I have written them down.
Okay, yes, go read them out.
I wrote them down because it's so long ago now for me. Okay. If I don't write, I'm never going to remember them all.
All right.
So my symptoms over 15 years. I mean, it started with definitely chronic fatigue. I had brain fog. I had allergies. I had really weird migraines, which ended me in an MRI machine. Back and neck issues. I had dizzy spells, which they diagnosed me with labyrinthitis, gastro and intestinal issues, chronic fatigue, as I said before, joint pain, breast pain, and itching all over my body like I had literally rolled in itching powder.
That's enough to send
and panic attacks as well. I had panic attacks. And then the big kind of sort of crescendo of it all was when my body just completely went bang, and I couldn't move my arm up or down, and it felt like my arm was broken. And then it actually started in my leg, and it was like I had sciatica, and then my wrists, I couldn't turn a key in the door. It was like so painful. I couldn't walk. It felt like knives. Yeah, my arms felt broken, but it would all be migrating. And all the symptoms I had over that period of time, they were never like constant. They would come and they would go.
Okay, so
bless you.
Thank you. So you mentioned allergies. Were they food allergies or nasal allergies?
They were food allergies, definitely.
So I'm experiencing a bit of that, but for 2.5 years, I've had, as you just heard me sneezing, chronic sinusitis, and I'm taking 2 allergy pills every night, and I have a prescription for days where it's bad. And I did everything. I did all these allergy drops with my doctor because I do have actual seasonal allergies. But she's like, they should be gone by now. Like, we did the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. And
Yeah.
she had said to me, this is my regular general practitioner. She said, you know, you have symptoms of mold exposure, but your house is brand
Wow.
new. You tell me this is happening no matter what city you're in, no matter where you are. This is weird. And I said, well, funny you say that because a lot of women who have breast implants have mold inside of them. And she's fascinated by this whole thing. She's actually now looking into it because she wants to learn more about this.
So do you have silicone or saline implants?
I do have silicone, and I have the gummy bear, as they say.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So those are a little worse from what I've heard. But your symptoms, you had a lot of them. You had rheumatoid arthritis, which
so basically, yeah, I got eventually with all those pains, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called rheumatoid arthritis. So that was 10 years ago now. And the difference, funny enough, I showed a picture to a friend the other day of me 10 years ago. And I said, look, this was me when I was ill. And she went, oh my God, that doesn't even look like you.
wow.
I said, no, it is me. She just couldn't believe it was me. 10 years ago, I was barely able to walk. I couldn't look after my children. They put me on a chemo drug called methotrexate. I was on steroids to try and ease the pain. I had steroid injections in my bum to try it so I could walk. But prior to that as well, which obviously we mentioned in our podcast, they had said that I might have, what was it, Debs, the cancer, the blood cancer I can't think of the leukemia. Thank you.
That's it. Well done. You got there first.
From my bloods, they thought maybe I had leukemia, but then it ended up being rheumatoid arthritis. So yeah, I mean, you know, when you go through all of that and you don't know why your body's breaking down, but even when I was diagnosed with RA, there was just something in my head that was just saying, that's not it. It's not it.
It's crazy how much you have to research to find out. Oh my God, it's these things that have been in my body this whole time.
The great thing for the pair of you is it's now.
Yes.
And you have got this whole world of stuff that you can look up and it's there right in front of you. When I went through it, there was hardly anything. So I had to really, really research it and to get help. I mean, literally the doors that closed on me when I was saying to people, I think I've got, you know, issues, a systemic issue with my breast implants. Obviously then it was known as breast implant illness. The eye rolling and the rejection and being told that I was stupid was daily.
Whereas I was not only in my 40s doing it and should have known better, but I also knew about breast implant illness.
Because by 2022, we knew it existed, obviously.
Yeah, nobody believed it. So my surgeon, I brought it up with him. He did a little eye roll, and yeah, it doesn't. It's just women jumping on a social media bandwagon, and so I thought, right, okay, maybe he's onto something there, and then I spoke to loads of friends that have got them. Because as you know, people in media, lots of breast implants.
So many.
It's probably the same way you are. So spoke to and they all said, no, we're fine. And that contributed to my thinking, well, maybe it isn't a thing, breast implant illness. So I completely ignored it. But as a result of that, that's how I obviously knew when things started going wrong that it probably was my breast implant.
So then what were your symptoms that you had in that 6-month period? And how quickly did they start?
I would say within 6 weeks, my mouth started going really dry. So really weird, really dry, really weird. My tongue had like a really disgusting white film on it.
And you're on the radio at this point talking.
Oh, honestly, I got about 4 months into it, I had to have a spray before I could talk on the radio. I had to spray my mouth because you could actually hear the clicking of my mouth because it was so dry. It was vile. It was vile. We went to Florida on holiday, the dream holiday, taking the kids to Disney, and I had a horrible time because I had a horrible taste in my mouth. My tongue was absolutely disgusting. I mean, my husband was getting no sexy time because I just wasn't. I had these beautiful new boobs.
Right?
Yeah. And I just wasn't into that because I just felt disgusting. Yeah. And because I knew that something was wrong. So the whole time that we were in Florida, which was at Easter. So I had them put in the January, and this was at Easter. I was just Googling constantly, trying to find stuff online about dry mouth, and there wasn't actually that much then, but there's loads now.
Yes.
So yeah, that was my main symptom, but I've got them written down here as well. My tinnitus got much worse. Yeah, working on the radio and in clubs for a lot of my career, my hearing is quite bad anyway, but it got much worse. It was as if we described it, Abbie, didn't we, as an alarm bell going off in your head. Just saying, there's something wrong in here. Help me out.
Sense.
I didn't add that into my list. I had that as well. Sorry. Continue.
I was tired all the time, ridiculous. I would just, my show is on until 4:00 in the afternoon. I would just come home and make dinner and then go to bed. Brain fog, poor concentration, really groggy in the morning. I'd wake up in the morning and have a wave of nausea come over me. I had a bit of a cough. My eyesight deteriorated. My skin was so dry. It felt like I put moisturizer on and it just soaked it up and then was dry again. Constantly bloodshot eyes, lower back pain, change in bowel movements, bloating, numb fingers. Towards the end, I kept getting really numb fingers as well. Heart palpitations. I had to stop on my way to work once because they just came out of nowhere, and yeah, really weird. And when I had jet lag as well, I got really bad panic attack, heart palpitation stuff. Sweating at night. I used to wake up and my pajamas would be soaking wet. And hair loss, a little bit of hair loss thrown in there at the end as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not as bad as Abbie's though. Abbie's hair loss was absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I actually, and that's another thing I realized I missed out. I had really awful hair loss.
Yeah.
But that was the first symptom to stop.
Was it real? Okay, so you said your hair loss stopped almost immediately after surgery, right, Abbie?
24 hours after surgery, yeah.
That's crazy.
So what I would do is like, if, when you do this with your hair, right?
I pull out clumps. Just run
Right, and it would literally, right, nothing. But I would do this, and it would just be loads of hair. And then when I was in the shower, I would have like what you would class as a week's worth of hair would be a shower for me. And I would be like, this just feels odd. And I remember saying to my hairdresser, should I be like losing this much hair? And he was like, yeah. Because he just obviously didn't know what to say. And I had my first shower after my explant, and I did that with my hair. And I was like, where's the hair? And then I kept doing it, and I screamed out to my husband. I was like, you got to come here. I was like, look, my hair's not falling out. And then my nails just suddenly kind of went shiny and strong. And this was all like 24, 48 hours after I had them removed. And I was like, okay, like there's something in this.
It's so hard every time someone describes it. I'm like, it's almost like you were possessed or under some sort of spell, and then it leaves your body, and and again, it's not like immediately everything goes away the second you wake up, but you start noticing things, a lot of women, right away.
Yeah.
So where are we at now then?
I'm 10 years and I don't have anything apart from I'm now going through the menopause, which is quite interesting because some of the symptoms obviously are not coming back, but they're similar.
Right.
But then now I've gone on HRT, they've gone again. So that's quite an interesting concept that there's this hormone disrupting thing going on within our body. It makes perfect sense, right? And I had a rheumatology appointment 2 weeks ago, and I haven't gone back on methotrexate. So the story with RA was I didn't believe that I had RA, and that's how I discovered breast implant illness, because I woke up, so I think it was the September 2015 I got diagnosed, and then I woke up in January 2016, and my left breast had gone rock hard, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is solid and it's just not moving. So I just typed in capsular contracture and autoimmune diseases, and that's when it went bang. And I was just like, oh my God. And then that was it. So that was the start of my light bulb moment, my journey. So I wanted to get off the methotrexate, but my roomie was an asshole and wouldn't let me. And so luckily I got a really nasty virus, and they said, look, you need to come off methotrexate because it suppresses your immune system. So it's a chemo drug, Fortunately for me, that was at the point of coming off of the methotrexate, and I'd already booked in my explant. So it just moved beautifully for me that I didn't have to go back on it. And I had the excuse that I wanted to see how my body body reacted once I'd had the implants out. However, for years they were trying to get me back on this medication.
You were fine.
I wasn't fine instantly with the pains. The pains continued to kind of migrate through my body and that was always the scary thing for me, because I had like a little person on one shoulder saying, you should be taking the medicine. And then on the other shoulder saying, just give it a chance. It took a good couple of years for that to really kind of iron itself out. And even now, I do still kind of get the odd little niggle, but I know what causes it now for me. It's dairy. So I just got to avoid that bad boy. So I have never been back on methotrexate for coming up for 10 years. And I had an appointment with my rheumatologist the other day, who's a new one, but I've had her for about 4 or 5 years. And initially she wanted me on the drugs. I would get letters from her telling me that she needed me on the drugs. And I found it really confusing. Like, what should I be doing? Am I going to cripple myself here? Am I going to end up in a wheelchair? Am I going to die early because RA can shorten your lifespan? Or do I just listen to my gut instinct and continue this path of healing? So I just did that. Just was like, yeah, let's just do that. And so I saw her the other day and I walked in, she went, my God, you look really well. And I went, yeah, no, I'm great. And she grabs my hands and she starts sort of squeezing all my knuckles. And she's like, can you feel anything? Can you feel anything? And I'm like, no, I can't. There's nothing there. And I was like, look, I've got a tiny little swelling. I'm trying to get it in camera. There it is, in my wrist. And I've got a dodgy ankle and I'm seeing someone for that at the moment. And he doesn't think it's RA because I've just had an X-ray and it's not showing any erosions. She's like, yeah, I'm happy. She said, I'm signing you off.
That's amazing.
So I now am under something called like patient care. And in 2 years, I might potentially have to have a review if anything's happened. She said, come back to me if obviously anything kind of starts to flare up. She said, but I'm happy. You're good to go.
That's amazing.
And I was in there for less than 5 minutes and I skipped out of there going, yes,
you did it.
I've done it.
That's amazing. Well,
yeah,
that is breaking news because you haven't talked about that on your podcast yet. So
I have not.
No. It's exclusive. Okay, so Debbie, when you explanted, how quickly did your symptoms go away?
So I would say if you had asked me like a few days, even a week afterwards, I would say, oh, yeah, I'm fine. But actually in hindsight, I realized that although after like the anesthetic had worn off, I was bouncing off the walls because I just felt completely different. And it absolutely, I mean, I know that on our podcast, I say it blew my mind. It blows my mind because it honestly did. I went from, before I went in, bearing in mind I only had them for 6 months, I looked like a crack addict. I looked so ill. I really did. I showed somebody a picture of myself and he was like, oh my God, you look, I may have deleted it, but so I felt so ill by the time I had the explant. I honestly believe that if I'd left them in for another 6 months, I would have been bedridden because I just went downhill so quickly and I was so depressed and crying all the time and just wanted them out of me. And yeah, I was bouncing off the walls with energy. I felt like myself again. It was absolutely crazy. But then looking back, I had them out in the beginning of the July, and then we started recording our pod in the September, but I still had a cough, didn't I, Abbie? I was still coughing and we had to do a lot of editing of coughs out, and I still had a dry mouth, but not to the extent that I had it when they were in.
Right.
And I think the dry mouth stayed for 9 months, which I find hilarious because I had the breast implants for 6 months and then it took me 9 months to actually fully recover, but I'm fine now. I do think that they aged me. I think that, you know, when I haven't got my makeup on and stuff, I definitely look older now than I did before. But also I've stopped doing anything else to myself now because I'm living this toxin-free life now, or trying my best to, down to dishwasher tablets, shampoo, conditioner, literally everything. I am that person now.
Yeah, I'm the same with you, where I've said I think I'm not going to do Botox anymore also. And yeah. And I think if we all just decide to do what our bodies are doing, we're not going to have anyone to compare ourselves to, and that, oh, well, she's this age and I'm that age too, and she looks completely different. Well, yeah, they're injecting so-and-so. Like, people would say to me all the time, oh my God, you look great. What do you do to your skin? I was like, well, I have a routine, but also just a heads up, like, I get Botox. So,
yeah.
You know,
well, we've been talking about this a lot, haven't we, Abby? Because I've started going down that rabbit hole of Botox now, and I'm part of a Facebook group, and there are thousands of women on this Facebook group about Botox who have had botulism, where the Botox crosses the blood brain barrier, and they get so ill, and some of them don't even recover from it, and some people's vision is permanently affected by it, and quite frankly, every time I open Facebook, I see a post from another terrified woman, and I'm too scared to even have it now. And I had it for quite a long time as well. And we were also saying before we came on here, maybe that's why I reacted so badly as well, because I've just been putting toxins in my body for such a long time
you can only fight so many things at once.
Yeah, my body was like, enough already.
And right now in America, we're literally last Friday, the FDA announced that there are several states where counterfeit Botox was being used, and it wasn't at medical places. It was people who were like untrained doing it, but women didn't know that. And they've been going to the hospital reporting like severe symptoms. Literally, it's happening this week. So it's scary. Yeah. So that is the next thing. I'm going to take baby steps here, but
baby steps. Well, funny enough, I didn't have Botox before. No. And it's only in the last year that I've decided to do it. And now I'm like, oh, I quite like this. But Debs is going, Abs, do you know about this? And I'm like, I don't want to hear.
I know. I get it.
Oh, like, I don't have any boobs. I just want to have a nice face.
Well, you both are beautiful, and I bet without Botox, you'd also be beautiful.
Well, let's see in a year, because someone's persuaded me never to have it again. So, I'm on my last round.
Maybe we'll do this.
This is the last time you'll never be able to see me frown.
Okay. But what's crazy is how your stories are so different, where Debbie, you reacted so quickly. And then Abbie, when do you think you had your very first symptom though, in years wise after getting them in?
You see, that's really difficult because I got pregnant quite quickly after having the boobs in. So I associated everything to pregnancy and being a new mum.
Of course.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think it was anything to do with the boobs. And also because back then, I was it was 2001, breast implants were sold as safe. They didn't even have any form of side effects at all. They were seen as inert. So, there was no reason for me to ever associate my breast implants to any of the symptoms. But I think probably fatigue would have been the first symptom that I had, and fairly quickly. All I ever did was complain that I was tired from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep. I mean, my husband definitely thought I was a hypochondriac. He just rolled his eyes like, what is it now? Yeah. And my eldest daughter, who's 21 now, she still laughs at like the fact that all she remembers through her childhood is the fact an ambulance would rock up and be taking me away, because at one point we thought I had meningitis. My headaches was so bad. Wow. And then there was the times that I couldn't walk because the spinning was so bad, like the dizzy spells. The time that I thought that I nearly had a lumbar puncture as well. What's because that? They thought I had, that's where they kind of take fluid, isn't it, out of your spinal fluid to see if you've got like meningitis. No. I think so. I don't know.
Yes, but I know what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So
why can't everyone call everything the same thing?
It's a great question. I think you guys had the language first and we messed it up. So it's our fault over here.
But you have such a lovely accent, so.
Said no one ever. What?
I just said it.
Okay,
I just said it.
Today. Today's the day.
I love it the way you say Leicester Square. It's Leicester Square, but you say Leicester, and it's cute. As all your American listeners go, oh, shut up, Abbie. Stop trying to do our accent.
They're definitely loving lining to the two of you. You could say nothing important and they would love it. But they're getting both here. They're getting the beautiful accents and important stuff. But you were going to the hospital. You were dealing with the ambulance, and you guys have a way different medical system than we do here.
Yeah.
Women in America that are going to these doctors nonstop with no answers, not knowing it's their breast implants, are spending so much money, or they're not going and they're not getting the care because they're like, I can't afford this. Like an ambulance here is like $10K. Just
oh my god. Yeah. Well, I mean, wow. If we just add it up, I mean, I must have cost. It would be about 50K. I think I had 5 ambulances, and the amount of times I was in hospital was phenomenal. At the doctors, I had MRI scans. I mean, God knows how much that is in America. You know, I mean, blood tests, MRIs, you name it. I've had it all to try and find out what was wrong with me. Didn't know it was the boobies.
Isn't it mad though? Because I saw something on Instagram this week saying that it's actually 50% of women that suffer some form of complication with breast implants, whether it is, you know, the fact that it's they're going hard, or the fact that they've got BII symptoms or whatever it is, but yet there will be so many women that are suffering and they've literally no idea what's going on with them, and that is scary. I mean, we figured it out in the end. I figured it out very quickly, but there are women right now that are bedridden. They're off work. They can't get out of bed. They've no idea why. They're ill for the 6th time this year so far, and it's all because of their breast implants. It's ridiculous.
I literally got a message. I'll paraphrase it. After my first or second episode, one of our listeners listened, and she messaged me and said, "Oh my God, thank you. I've been sick for years. I had no idea what it is. I'm getting these things out immediately." And I was like, amazing, but also like, let's
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, let's also make sure I don't need you to go popping these things out and then you blame me if you don't feel better. Like,
like that.
Yes. Yeah. But also, oh my God. Like, and I said, go into this Facebook group right now and start talking. And I see her in there, you know, messaging and saying, oh my God. It is like a light bulb moment.
Is that Nicole's group?
Yes. So I want to talk about that. So you guys on your podcast talk about, Abbie, how you found Breast Implant Illness by Nicole, which is a Facebook group, but there's also a website that anyone can access without joining the group. And it's got so much information and resources, everything in there. And that's what you found originally.
That's
right?
what I found. So that when I had that light bulb moment, that's what I found. And I literally emailed her straight away. And this is when I think she probably only had like 400 or 500 people on her group, right? So I was like number 501. How many now?
188,000.
Oh my God. Well, I was like one of the founding group.
Look at you.
Check me out.
I was there from the start.
Yeah. And she was just amazing. And then all the women on there were it was like having a hug. And I just felt so alone in the UK. But there were other British women on there. And one was called Sandy Cooper, and we connected. And I just said, look, do you think we should try and do a similar group over here in the UK? Because we need to find UK surgeons. Sandy flew out to America to have her explant in America. Her husband sold his motorbike so that she could fly out and have her explant because she was so ill. And so we were like, we need to kind of step it up for the UK ladies so that we can raise awareness. And I asked Nicole, look, do you mind if I start the same name, but the UK version? And she was like, no, do it, because actually you're going to help us, because we've got a lot of British women asking us where to go. Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, I can't go to Walmart to get a special bra. You know, I can't do that because I'm in the UK. So we needed to know where we could get bras from and where we could get, you know, surgeons from, and just to have that help. And it's still going. So I set it up with Sandy, and it is still going, but we handed the reins over probably about 5 years ago now. It just got to the point where it was time for us to sort of move on and do other things.
It is incredible.
I think this is it though, because I think you do go through a situation like this, and all three of us have been in this situation where we're like, this is wrong, and I want to do something about it, and that's why I reached out to Abbie when I was in this situation, because I Googled it. I'm obviously researching. I got about 4 months in, and I thought, I know that this is my boobs, so I'm going to start researching this. And given my skill set, I need to do something about this. Right. So I hadn't told anybody that they went in, but I'm going to tell everybody that I had them and I'm taking them out. So when I started Googling it, I found Abbie, which the weird thing about this is that we were actually on the same radio station years ago. So, but it was an internet only radio station before its time. And it was run by a famous ex-Radio 1 DJ over here. And Abbie recorded her show when I wasn't there. So the whole lineup, we didn't meet each other. So when I'm researching breast implant illness and Abbie Eastwood comes up, I'm like, Abbie Eastwood, I'm sure she was on Storm Live. So then I got in touch with Abbie, and I think initially, Abbie, you were a little bit like, oh, I can't go down this road again. I've had enough.
PTSD of
yeah.
I'm sure
It was. And also the same as what you said earlier, I remember saying to Debs, look, I mean, I'm going through menopause at the moment. Are you sure it's not menopause? I don't want you to take them out and find, that it's not them, because you've only had them in 6 months. And she's just like, I know it's them. And I was like, that's fine, but I don't want you to ask me my opinion and then take them out and then turn around to me going, listen, bitch, right? I've spent like 18 grand on having them put in and taken out, and it's not them.
But you know what? That's what the PA to my surgeon was saying to me all the time, given my age. She was saying, it's menopause, sweetie. She said sweetie all the time. It was really annoying. It's menopause, sweetie. You get a dry mouth with menopause. That's what this is. You get tired with menopause. And she was trying to tell me that it definitely wasn't the boobs. And no, we don't know anything about this. And but I convinced Abbie because I'd done so much research. And at the time, there were no podcasts, really. I found the occasional episode about it, but there were no podcasts at that time.
Right.
And there are more now that were actually dedicated to the subject of breast implant illness. So I said, come on, let's do this. And she said,
it's true, though, because I haven't had the gaslighting from the doctors because I haven't had to, thanks to the Facebook group from Nicole, thanks to podcasts like yours, because I have the knowledge and I'm just getting them out. And we have doctors now, like my doctor, Dr. Rankin, who is literally only explanting. Like, I know, and he's been on your podcast. I love it. I know, he's the best. So he's only explanting, where when you guys were going through it, like, it's literally you walk so the rest of us could run kind of situation. It was, you were fighting with your doctors to like, no, I want these out. Like, Debbie, you had a little like, no, take them out of me. And then Abbie, you went years of doctors just basically telling you were crazy.
Yeah. I mean, well, when I realized it was the implants, I mean, I was quite quick to get them out. I was like, these have got to come out because otherwise they're going to put me on that chemo drug. So for me, it was really time sensitive. Okay. And I went and saw 4 or 5 different surgeons. And I did have to pay for that. So that wasn't on the NHS. So I'm paying £250 a time to do that. One said to me, you should get them put back. You need to have some put back in because they're going to look like spaniel's ears. And I was just like, right, nope, you're off the list. And then the other one I booked in was a lady. And then when I happened to go for a blood test, because I had to have blood tests every 2 weeks because I was on the methotrexate, because I had to check my kidney and liver function. Because obviously it's a really good drug. For the right purpose anyway. So anyway, she was like, I was telling her all about it. And she said to me, oh my God, you can't use that surgeon. She did my breast implants that I've got in and she botched me. So then I was saying to her, you should probably get those out. But thanks for letting me know. And off I popped and sort of called up and I went, just wondering, like, can I get my deposit back? And they went, yeah, you can. I was like, brilliant. So that one was off the list.
Wow.
And then I can't remember the others, but the final one, when I saw him, he was just lovely. He sat and listened to me and he just said to me, yeah, 100%. I see women come in that have issues with their breast implants. You're not crazy. And yeah, I'm more than happy to take them out. And I'm more than happy to take them out with a capsule in, because 10 years ago, having a capsulectomy was like, what the hell are you asking me? That is not going to happen. I'm just going to pop the implant out. And I was like, no, you need to take everything out. Yes. And he was also so amazing because he then sent my capsules off to be tested. to test them for breast cancer, obviously BIA-ALCL, but also to see what was going on inside them. And that's when we saw that, what was it that it came under? I can't remember. It was basically that my macrophages were foaming and that I still had silicon debris inside my capsules. So if I'd have left the capsules in, I would have definitely, I would still be obviously having symptoms because,
silicon's still in you.
Silicon is still inside me,
Well,
right?
2 episodes ago, I had Dee on. Dee is the patient care coordinator for Dr. Rankin, and she described it perfectly. She said you wouldn't take out the garbage, you wouldn't take out your trash without the trash bag. And think of the implant as the trash and then the capsule as the trash bag. You wouldn't leave that behind with all the gunk inside of it. So, but yet, how 10 years ago doctors were like, I'm not taking that out of your body. That's part of your body now. Like,
right, so it's a longer operation as well, isn't it? It's 20 minutes compared to over an hour. So they don't want to do it if they don't think it's necessary. And obviously the risk of complication is so much more as well because they can,
and the scars are bigger as well. I've got full on scars, but I'm not going out I naked, for God's sake.
I didn't end up going back to my surgeon who put them in.
Okay.
I was going to go back to tell him that I wanted an explant because I was going to record him on my phone and just see, because at this point
illegal.
Well, yeah. At this point, I just so that I could remember what he said, because at this point I knew that we were doing the podcast and I wanted to see what he said. But you know what? I was so ill that I wasn't up for I didn't have the ability to be able to, fight him in a conversation. So I didn't. So I ended up going to Jed Byrne, who is on our podcast, and he was lovely, and he took the whole capsule and did a great job. I'm just back to where I was before, basically. So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. You guys have...
And my boobs are growing with HRT. I just want to add that to any woman out there. Yeah.
And HRT is
it's hormone replacement therapy for women that are going through the menopause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now I'm balancing out my hormones. The boobs are growing.
Look at that.
I live in hope. I live in hope.
It's win-win.
Silver lining of menopause. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a ton of episodes. In all of your research, whether it's guests on the podcast, doing your own, research when you were discovering breast implant illness, what is the most shocking thing each of you have learned either about the breast implant industry or breast implant illness? Debbie?
It was the story, Abbie, about the lady that was so poorly and then she donated her body. So they did the autopsy and they literally found silicone in every part of her body. Okay, wait, so
I didn't listen to this episode yet or hear the story.
Did we actually talk about it on the pod? I think we did at some point.
I think we've spoken about it.
Definitely. Yeah, because it was Denmark, somewhere else. Wasn't it? Okay. Yeah, so Denmark. she got really poorly. She knew it was her breast implants. She eventually ended up dying. She had them in her body for a long time. She donated her body, and then when they did the autopsy, it was literally everywhere throughout her whole. Throughout her whole body,
brain, spine, wasn't it? I think
because silicone migrates, and it can cross the blood-brain barrier in the same way as Botox can. It affects everything, which is why I'm assuming you get your brain fog and I don't know.
Well, I've said almost on every episode that I don't necessarily regret getting them in. I was 25 when I made my decision, and I don't know that there was anything stopping me, but I think if I would have heard that probably would have scared the hell out of me. And but all you want are these nice boobs. And the last thing you're thinking about is, I'm not going to get sick. That won't happen to me. But it's happening to almost all of us.
And people will bury their head in the sand because they want the boobs.
I know.
I've got friends that have not listened to my podcast, good friends that have, got breast implants, and I'll speak to them. Oh, I've got sinusitis again. And I'll say, it's your breast implants. It's not my breast. It fucking is your breast implants. It really is. Just get the bloody things taken out. People don't want to know because they don't want to get rid of the boobs, but ultimately they're just not good for you.
I hope all these things are the breast implants because then I don't have to worry about it. It'll be solved with this, taking them out next month.
I'm excited for you, honestly. I'm so
I can't
excited.
Wait to hear.
Me too.
Yeah.
Abbie, most shocking thing you've learned?
Okay, so I've been sort of writing a little Substack and putting sort of stuff that I find, because I think I'm the one that deep dives into everything. Like poor Debbie gets calls from me going, "You'll never guess what I found out now." I mean, Debs is the like breast implant illness side of things. She'll kind of like find everybody on that. I'm the one that will deep dive into surgeons and like the regulations. So I think the biggest thing for me was when I learned about the invention of silicone breast implants and how it was two surgeons. I've written their names down because I can never remember it. Thomas Cronin and Frank, I'm going to say Gero, because it's G-E-R.
I think it's
Gero.
See,
Yeah,
I
they
told
were-
you that, Abbie. Gero. Yes. Sorry.
Gero. Anyway, they decided to invent them. And they got little biscuit size implant, and they put it in a dog called Esmeralda. And Esmeralda had the implant in for 2 weeks before she got a little bit pissed off and was just like, "Listen, I'm a dog and I want this thing out of me," and started to unpick her stitches. So they saw that and they were like, "Okay, let's take it out of Esmeralda." And then from that they were like, "Well, she's not had a reaction for 2 weeks. I think this is pretty safe." And persuaded a young lady called Timmy Jean Lindsay in 1962 to have her first breast implants put in. And because they were a complete success, for the next 14 years, completely unregulated, they shoved in implants in women without them going through any form of regulatory anything, no testing, no nothing. For 14 years, women had them stuck in them until 1976 when the FDA went, I think we might need to do a little bit of research into that. But even then, as we know, the research was done by the companies that made them. So it only ever lasted for 6 months. And even though they did do the research for a year, they only ever put 6 months in. If you've read Barbara Stanistreet's book called The Booby Trap, there you go. It's called The Booby Trap. She was one of the first women to have implants put in as well many years ago. Her husband worked in the industry and she had them put in and went through years of sickness. It's a brilliant book to read if you've got breast implants.
Oddly enough, somehow they did get taken off the market. At one point, it was the 80s, 90s. And
it was just before I had mine put in. So I think when I had mine put in, they were banned in America. But we didn't have the internet in 2001, right? So I couldn't do any research. I just thought that it was safe because everyone was having them done.
That's just so insane to think about, that you were you're right there. You're not too
across
far
the pond.
Across the pond. But
I was across the pond, and you guys were like, "Nope, you're not going to put those in women." And we were like, "Yeah, go on, women, cut yourself open and stick some plastic in you."
And then we did it all over again, though. And and I think it was something you guys shared. That's how I found the podcast, through Instagram. It was, you share a lot of clips from the media, whether it's good or bad, about breast implants, like what people are saying about them. And I love that your page does that. And because I had just been searching different breast implant illness things, you just, it wasn't even when I was searching, just came up in my algorithm, and it was something you had posted months ago. And I came across, I was like, oh, what is this? Oh, another podcast. Oh my God. And I started following and just listening. And then Debbie, you reached out to me after you listened to my first episode, and you were just so positive. And you're like, I can't wait until you get these things out of you. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. So,
well, I'm just glad that we came up in the algorithm, because I do a lot of the posting on Instagram, and you know, there's a lot of restrictions and bans, and when we first launched that page, we grew rapidly, and then we just got to about 1,000 followers, and it just stopped, and we don't gain that much anymore, and it's crazy because there's so much out there now on this subject.
Well, we're gonna make sure everyone listening follows The Heel is Real. I'm gonna post it. Is Instagram The Heel is Real podcast, or just The Heel is Real?
The Heel is Real podcast.
Okay, and all the links and everything to check out everything you guys say will be in the description of this podcast, and I'll share it on social as well. It's funny you say that, because I have fears that like these breast implant illness companies are going to come find me and like break my kneecaps because I'm using my platform to talk about this. And I'm like, I don't know, is the FDA? I don't know who's going to come find me, but somebody might. I mean,
but we had the same fears. We had the same fears when we did the podcast. But this is why people don't speak out. And I do believe that this is it's just one of the reasons, because women are also embarrassed that they've done this to themselves, and they don't want to come out because they don't want told you so, or it's your own stupid fault. You did this to yourself. So I think that's a reason why a lot of women don't talk about it. But then obviously you have those of us that just feel like this is so wrong. And there are I honestly believe there are just so many women that are poorly. Every one of my friends that has them has symptoms that I can see now, you know, whether they're mild, but they are mild because they're not getting them out. But either way, they've got symptoms.
Of course.
It's obvious to me. Yeah.
And the one thing you'll notice as well, once you get your breast implants out, is if you go on holiday and you see people walking around the pool in a bikini, you're just like, implants, implants. Oh, real? They look nice. Oh, God. I mean, I saw one woman when I was in Spain last year, and she was humongous. But they looked, I don't even, like 2 melons had been literally stuck on really badly. And I was just like, honey, do you know how bad you look? That's not sexy.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the 70s.
Yeah. I have watched so many operation videos now of the capsules coming out and them cutting open and goo coming out and God knows what, that I just see that when I see breast implants now. Yep. To me, they are not attractive in any way whatsoever. No. All I see is that it's gross. And it's like, my husband did like my breast implants when they were in. He liked them very much. But it's like, isn't it weird? Because they're just balls of silicone inside that you're enjoying having a good old grope at. They're in the cupboard. If you want them, you can still play with them. It's fine. They're just not in me anymore. Go for your life. Have fun.
That's the clip I'll be putting on Instagram, because that is the one. Okay, so then on that note, do you, each of you, regret getting them in the first place?
You go first, Abbie.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because it made me ill and it has completely taken away treasured years with my children where I was, you know, bedridden or always feeling tired or grumpy and moody, and because I was exhausted. So on that, a major yes. A no, because it brought me together with Debs, and it's just madness really, because we're so similar, even down to our kids, which is kind of scary.
By the way, we haven't met.
I was going to ask, we've never met in real life, but you just can't do this podcast. I can't. I love it. Okay, so I'm on the same boat with you, is that I don't regret them. We had fun. I think that I caught the sickness. I think it would have gotten much worse if I kept them in. But I do believe that there's a purpose behind it, and maybe that purpose is this platform and telling all these other women about it.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Same for you, Deb?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Abbie was suffering with them for years and years and years, and it was absolutely awful. And don't get me wrong, I felt like I was going to die, and it was horrific, and definitely the most traumatic time of my life so far. I was absolutely terrified, but it was only 6 months. It did bring me to this point. We have had so many women get in touch with us because they've listened to the pod, and it's helped them out. And I'm a changed person. I do not care about my boobs. I quite like them. I always worried that my boobs were, my belly would eventually overtake my boobs because my boobs are small. But I've realized now, just do some exercise and stay slim. And then that won't happen. And
stop eating the cakes is what really.
Stop eating all the cake.
No,
but also it's totally changed me as a person. Like I said, I'm so much healthier now. I take care. My body is a temple aside from chocolate. You know, I don't drink alcohol. I'm actually quite boring now, to be honest, but I'm healthy. And I'm happy.
So then do you think breast implants should be on the market?
No.
Deb says no. Just taking a deep breath.
I mean, obviously I've had many years to think about this.
I know.
It's a choice. You can make a choice. If you want to put them inside you, go for it. I'm not going to tell you whether you should or you shouldn't. You know the facts if they're given to you. I think what needs to be changed is regulations, especially in the UK. They need to be way more restrictive to prevent surgeons just glossing over the symptoms that could potentially happen and the systemic reaction, and also the cancer. Let's not forget that. It's growing, quite rapidly, the numbers of women and young women, like women in their 20s, that are getting a form of cancer that isn't a breast cancer, but within their breast because of their implants. That needs to change. Do I think they should come off the market? Do you know what? Yeah, take them off the market. Right. But I still think, to be honest, something else will be put in its place, because that's just the way the world works. I think really what needs to happen is education and regulation.
You said that in the UK, there's not as much regulation. I had a friend who was on last week's episode, Lala. She got her 2 breast implant surgeries because body rejected the first ones. And then I believe second one, they got rock hard. And she removed hers with Dr. Rankin as well. She said that when she got them in either time, they never discussed cancer with her. They never really discussed, and this was, I'm talking recent, like within the last few years, She got them in. Didn't discuss anything with her about the risks. And I think that is the biggest issue, is that unless you stumble across my Instagram, your Instagram, our podcast, or that Facebook, no one's telling you this.
No,
it's I think some things are written in the contracts that you sign, but it's very wordy. And my surgeon said to me back in January 2022, the risk is so low for anything. Another thing that I just popped into my mind as well, you know how nobody is microwaving their food in plastic containers anymore. Yeah, including me. I don't do that anymore. But the reason for that is plastic inside warm stuff. Your body's warm. You're putting plastic in it.
I have heard of women that use saunas or infrared saunas with implants, which
no, don't do that.
I've stopped once I heard this fact that you're quite literally melting them in your body, because they're not tested at temperatures that high.
Oh yeah, they should be telling you that at the very least. Right. Just tell women that. Yeah.
I can tell you, I remember when the labyrinthitis hit, and that was after I went to, it was where you would stand, what do they call it? You stand on a machine and you put a belt around you and you press the button and the whole thing vibrates.
Yes.
And you're doing that for ages, and it's meant to get rid of all the fat and tone you up, and you're on there for like 10 minutes. And then what was happening was my breast implants were going like rubby and moving around. And I think because they were already starting to break down, it was just releasing all of the gooey yuckiness that was going on. And that's when the labyrinthitis kicked. And because I thought it was the whole bloody machine that was making me dizzy and had like done something to my brain, but it wasn't. It was the implants, obviously, because now they're out. I have never had a dizzy spell since.
Labyrinthitis, is that the same as vertigo?
Yeah,
it is. Okay.
So it's where you have really dizzy spells and you're like crawling on the floor because the whole room is just going. It's like somebody just put you on a merry-go-round and spun it really fast.
They can affect you in so many different ways. At the end of the day, the way I always say it, and we said it on the pod, you put these things inside you, and if you think about your immune system being a whole load of soldiers, and if your soldiers are suddenly, oh God, what's this? I need to defend the body against this, and they all go to your boobs to start a war on the boobs, then the rest of your body is getting neglected, and so anything could happen. Any kind of symptom, which is why the symptom list is so long.
I tell you something that came up the other day. As I said, I've got a bit of a bad foot at the moment, and it's got nothing to do with my boobs, but I was explaining to the consultant that because I have to now, because I have this rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis, I am pigeonholed in more ways than you could possibly imagine. So the minute anything goes wrong, they're like, it's RA, isn't it? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not bloody RA, because I haven't got it. So anyway, I was explaining to him, I don't have RA, or if I do, I'm managing it perfectly fine. But it'll be interesting, to see what the foot brings up, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, that's interesting. Well, can you just tell me your story? So I told him all about breast implants, and he was listening. He was a young doctor and he was wonderful. He spent more time asking me questions about breast implants than he did about my foot, which I thought was great. And he said, you know what? It really interests me. He said, because when I did my training, I actually would help surgeons put in implants, he said, but the reason it really interests me is that quite a lot of people that have plates or screws put in their foot also have the same reaction that you're expressing with the breast implants. And he said, and when we take them out, all their symptoms go. Oh, it's a systemic reaction. Maybe, we should be having this conversation because it isn't just women. This is now everybody is talking about the fact that they have a foreign body put in their body. They're having a systemic reaction and it is causing symptoms. And I do think they are a hormone disruptor, definitely. Now going through menopause and seeing how similar the symptoms are, it's kind of like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Well, and the hormone thing, I can also attest to that. I have ovarian cysts that started 5-6 years ago, on and off. I've had 2 rupture, and knock on wood, haven't really had anything recently, but they just, no matter who has them, implants or not, they do come and go. And it was in the last few years that I was like, oh no, because they don't run in my family, I'm the only one to have them. Could these cysts have been something caused by my implants and they're caused by a hormonal imbalance? Like, why am I having that? There's no reason I was at 28 having a hormonal imbalance other than these things. So
that's so interesting you say that, because I never thought that the reason why my cysts were there when I was in my 20s, but I had cysts as well, and I haven't had any since.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Look at us.
So there is another symptom to add to the list that I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many people that struggle getting pregnant as well with implants.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then you take them out and you get pregnant. There are so many stories of ladies.
Yeah. Well, because your body's probably like, I can't deal with another thing in here right now. The two of you have been an absolute pleasure to talk to, and I want to do this every week. I love you both so much. I hope I get to meet you both in real life someday.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you said later on this year we can expect some new episodes, hopefully, for
hopefully.
But there's plenty to go listen to, and you get to hear Abbie and Debbie's story at length. I highly recommend listening to both of those episodes because they really are incredible, and you guys do such a great job of describing what you went through. And also all the guests you have on, just please go listen to them after you listen to this episode or watch this episode. Thank you both so much for doing everything you do, using your platform.
Same to you as well. You're doing exactly the same. And the more people that do this, we're not in competition with each other. It's about getting it out there as much as possible, getting as many ears on it, so that if the surgeons, the doctors are not going to tell us about this, then we'll just tell each other.
Yeah, that's
us women have got to stick together as per usual.
Sure. Thank you both. So much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And good luck. Let us know how your explant goes.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I don't know about you, but listening to the two of them talk was just so comforting. And I mean it. They're officially my fairy implant godmother. No, I got to think of a better name, but they're stuck with me for a long time now. I hope they don't mind that. You heard them though. Go follow the Heal is Real podcast on Instagram. Let's get to more people over there. Help out the algorithm a bit to spread this knowledge, whether you have implants or breast implant illness or not. Always good to know, because you never know who you could help by knowing all of this information. Go listen to their podcast. All of this information is in the description of this podcast. If you have any questions, you can email me, hello@carlamarieandanthony.com. Happy to answer anything about this journey, or at least what I know about it so far. You could also always watch this. If you're listening right now, you can always go watch this on YouTube. It does post a few days after the audio, but sometimes you like to have a visual. It's there for you. And last episode, I asked for suggestions on a boob-related way to end the podcast. And Maria reached out and she said, what if you say ta-ta for now? Duh, that's such a good one. So this week, I'm going with ta-ta for now, breasties.